Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie Gerritsen, Associate Director of Clio Entertainment, and thank you for joining us for the next edition of the Creative Mentor Series. Today, we have Nadia Husain with us. Nadia is a design director at Trollbäck+Company, and she's here today to pull the curtain back on the creative process of the recent TBS rebrand. I'm so excited to see how this very cool project came together, so let's welcome Nadia.
Hey,
Hi,
Jessie.
Nadia.
Thanks for that lovely intro.
Yes, and thank you for being here. I know you have a lot to say, so I'll let you take it away.
Great, thank you. Hey, everyone. So today the question is, how do you evolve a brand for a multi-platform world? A lot of people think that brand building is just a logo and a color palette, but brand building is more than just creating something visually appealing. It's about creating a communication system that can connect with an audience consistently and also dynamically. Because in a multi-platform world, all brands are entertainment brands. Brands need to be expressive, but they also need to check these contextual boxes. They need to be ownable. This is the way a brand expresses its identity. It needs to be unique and memorable in a way that's relevant to the audience. They need to be elastic. This means deliberately flexible in the context of the product that it's selling. Sometimes that's a physical product, sometimes it's a lifestyle concept. For an entertainment brand like the one we're talking about today, that's content. So elastic is the way a brand can dial up and down its presence and expressiveness, depending on the content it's promoting or wrapping or sharing with the audience. The brand should stand out on its own while also giving its shows and personalities a platform to shine. And third, they need to be scalable. Scalable means the way a brand expresses their ownable, elastic identity depending on the platform. A brand will never just live in one place, so it's important that the voice and tone of the brand remains consistent no matter what the platform. So today I'm going to give you a sneak peek into the creative process for the TBS rebrand. This wasn't building a brand from scratch, but rather an evolution of the brand. Evolving a brand can be as influential and impactful and as challenging as building a brand from scratch. Since there's already an established identity, evolving that identity really means honing in on who they are now and, even more importantly, who they want to become. So TBS needed to evolve from a comedy-forward TV network to a taste-driven entertainment brand with a distinct point of view. What does that mean? So they don't want to come off as a generic broadcast network brand. They want it to feel more premium. They want to broaden their lens to be less comedy forward and be able to support more high-end dramas, sports, and unscripted content. At the same time, they want to evoke a vibe and feeling that was unique to them. They didn't want to change their logo because it had a pretty significant recognition and people had an affinity for it. But with a project like this, we always ask, is there a way to do more? So the question for TBS became, how do we create a premium spirit that thrives beyond the TV screen? Ownability starts from the brand identity, who the brand wants to be, and also how the audience perceives them. So to understand TBS and its audience, we had to look at the content and develop a strategic vision. So through the strategy process, we identified TBS is filled with distinct personalities and big ideas. So in words, the identity of the evolved brand would be they're appealing and clever. Watching their network isn't homework, it's fun. They have great talent with confident, culturally relevant, unconventional points of view. They're premium, but not in a pretentious way. Their content is thoughtful, elevated, inventive, and inclusive. And they're not limited to a single genre. Their dramas can be comedic, their comedies can be dramatic, and so on. In brand speak, this is what we call genre fluid. So most of all, they don't want to take themselves too seriously. So why is this phase so important, this strategy phase, especially for someone like me who works primarily with visuals? Understanding the way a brand feels and empathizing with the audience, and then being able to articulate that feeling in words, to my process, is the perfect catalyst for design exploration. Because if we ask the question, why is the audience drawn to this brand? we can come closer to understanding the feeling, then it's easier to understand the question, how can I visualize the feeling? So to me, the way the content feels and the way the audience may feel when watching is the key creative ingredient to ownability, what makes them uniquely them. Empathy is the bridge between understanding and creating. And that's really what like my process I'm honing in on. The best way to visualize a feeling is to start with mood boards. So I never limit my references to just design. I look at photography, art, animation, crafts, books, really anything that will help me visualize the feeling. So the goal was to try and visualize the feeling of TBS. So this mood board and reference hunting process takes a lot of time, a lot longer than it looks here. It looks like we just threw some images together, right? Actually, these boards, I spent days searching for hundreds of references for each feeling and then compiling them together into only a few images. So here I pulled some reference together for blurred genres. And here's a mood board for unique, colorful personalities. And then here's a mood board for unexpected perspectives. Right now, it's not about what does it look like. We're just trying to get down what does it feel like. So this process is super subjective and intuitive, meaning at this point to different people, those things could mean different things. And this was my perspective at visualizing these feelings. Also, these were just 3 of many mood boards that many of our team members created to try to nail down mood and tone. And really, when it comes to any creative project, the more perspectives you have, the better a product will be, especially in this initial phase when you're trying to nail down that feeling. And because it's so subjective. So we noticed something similar in many of the mood boards. A spectrum of colors together felt right. So I knew with this fun range of personality, color would play a big role. Also, things like movement, light, layers, overlapping. These were visual choices that I felt might empower the system to express mood and tone rather than just identify genres. So when I do start making stuff, I make a lot of stuff. And I don't get too attached to anything because I know in the end, most of it will probably change anyway. I find that getting attached to any design too early can really be limiting. What I felt was right was to use a variety of colors instead of just 1 or 2. So in my early exploration, I incorporated these color bars and played around with the ways the bars could morph, shift, change, how to give them a sense of energy, a spectrum of feeling. It was really like a super experimental process. And these weren't deliverables, they were just sketches. And in the end, I found something really compelling about the shape of the logo. So I decided to lean into that a bit more. This was actually one of the first frames I made using the logo shape deconstructed. So evolving the logo into a symbol was something that felt super intuitive and it just felt right, especially for the brand who was sort of trying to shift to be many things. The symbol could be many things. And evolving the brand from comedy to like more general entertainment. So by removing the playful feeling letter forms, we leaned into this logo's shape, which could feel serious or playful, really depending on how it was treated. So the challenge here then became how to see how we could make it recognizable while also making it expressive. So we explored so many different ways that shape could be treated, making sure to cover a wide range of styles. So here's just a quick look at some of the things we created. Maybe we could use it as a frame to energize talent or to highlight moments from sports. It could frame messaging. I also explored different motifs for framing dramas and comedies. And all of these ways of using the logo shape felt super modern, elevated, and actually very ownable. So we knew we were on the right track with this. So after the first round of development, we took a step back and we asked, what does it mean for this brand to be elastic? How can we push it further to feel more expressive with a range of TBS content? We really liked how the shape was working. It was strong and simple, an ownable foundational element. And we wondered, Could the color be more fluid? Could we make it flex deliberately to be more expressive? Foundational and expressive, great brands operate on these two levels simultaneously. So in the following rounds, we explored evolving the color bars into gradients. We developed 6 color gradients. They were meant to feel like a wash of color, almost like light, but more lush than that. TBS's content was leaning into comedies and dramas, so we needed to give it flexibility to be funny and serious at once. So especially with the dramatic comedies and the comedic dramas they were showcasing. But then we take one color gradient, like we see here, and we see how one color gradient can create an entire range of feelings. So with incorporating darker backgrounds, it looks more dramatic, and incorporating brighter backgrounds, it feels more comedic. One color gradient can flex in so many different ways. When we combine it with the shape treatment and framing it over dark backgrounds feels dramatic and cinematic. Light backgrounds feels fresh and energizing. And because these palettes we created are curated to complement our content, and the size of the logo and the placement of the logo is consistent, everything feels super harmonious and unified. So after another round of feedback and insights from the TBS team, we realized we could simplify it even further. We narrowed our color palette down to 3 lush gradients. This felt really unique because it wasn't a standard color palette. 4 colors created one gradient, and with black and white added to ground the grads, the power of just 3 gradients could create an entire range of moods. We also explored a variety of typography, and we're looking for something that felt premium and contemporary to complement their content. We also wanted a hero typeface that felt distinct but didn't shout. So we ended up with this crisp serif as our hero voice-driven font and a clean sans serif as a more informational secondary font. So the next step in the process was thinking about scalability. With the presence of streaming, TBS needed to flex across all platforms, large and small. Today's audiences have had the freedom to connect in many different ways, and people engage with brands they love on the platforms that fit them best in ways that fit them best. So the questions here were about context. When is it appropriate to dial the expression of a brand up, and when is it appropriate to dial it down? Where will the brand live in its most reductive state? Where will it be more about showcasing the content? And then where will it be more expressive? Where will it be more about showcasing the brand? Different platforms have different needs, and the logo, evolving the logo into a symbol, in my opinion, was the strongest foundational piece of the puzzle. So we transformed a static shape into a dynamic tool for expression and a system of attribution. In use, the brand shape evolves depending on the platform and tone of content, so it becomes a vessel for creative expression while always remaining an anchor for the brand. The social needs to be more content forward, so the shape flexes to support the content, the shows, and the messaging. And digital needs are less expressive, so more informational, more straightforward. The shape sort of takes a back seat. The out-of-home impact needs to be huge and expressive and potentially highlight talent, so the shape can flex to do that. But how does the brand function on its own? So the foundational shape can definitely function on its own. A really good exercise we did was treating it like a lifestyle or a fashion brand. Like, what would it look like on a t-shirt? Or I don't know, a beach towel. And of course, there was motion language. We explored so much motion language, and we really wanted to explore a range of styles and like a range of, different sorts of ways we could animate the shape. And this was my favorite part because you could really see how expressive the shape can be in motion. So as a last step, we rolled out an intuitive brand toolbox. So what does that mean? We rolled out the colors, all of the way the colors were built, the logo, the shape treatments, and how they could be used, animation toolkits, and then thorough guidance for all of it, because that's a really important part. It really helps to understand the team and empower the team with the tools they need to like build this brand and to express the brand. So we built a framework reimagined for a new era of entertainment that would equip and empower their team for years to come. As soon as we discovered this simple foundational formula, a lot of things started to make sense. The color palette expresses and energizes, the shape treatment owns and activates, the typography engages and informs. These tools were a deceptively simple foundation, flexible enough for a brand to express itself and step back and support the content when needed. These foundational tools made TBS ownable, elastic, and scalable, a complete brand evolution for a multi-platform world. Or to state it simply, we created a vibe. It was so fun to work on this brand. And if you can't already tell, my favorite part was unlocking the adaptive shape. Modern brands are never static, and my instinct is that TBS will continue to evolve. With such a strong foundational formula, this is only the beginning. I'm excited to keep working with TBS and to evolve the brand and the personality of the foundational elements even further as the content evolves. Thank you.
Thanks, Nadia. I love this project. It's so cool to see how it came together. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.